Coming up on today's episode of Airborne-Unlimited. Icon Aircraft bankruptcy chooses a winner. Risen 916 ISV completes Atlantic crossing heading for Oshkosh. Simulation of emergency on ISS causes alarm. Welcome to Airborne Unlimited. I'm your host, Holland Lee. Let's get into today's stories. Icon Aircraft bankruptcy chooses a winner, appears to be Chinese ownership. Court documents have identified SG Investment America as the successful bidder in the convoluted bankruptcy process that should see them as Icon Aircraft's new owner. It was not a big draw, especially after a rumored 450 possible bidders turned them down. SG Investment America is not as American as titled, but pretty much owned by Chinese corporate interests, making Icon the latest of several American aviation concerns that have had their ownership and intellectual property taken over by companies based in China, or in some cases, like Cirrus, owned by companies that were otherwise arms of the Chinese government. Court statements also complain that Icon founder and self-described democratizer of aviation Kirk Hawkins, quote, who served as CEO until November 2018, since its founding, Icon has consistently operated at a loss. By 2015, Icon was in dire financial conditions due to Hawkins's mismanagement and excessive expenses, including using company funds to purchase an aircraft for personal use. To sustain operations, Hawkins actively sought investors from China, end quote. This June 18th, the hearing to consider the approval of the sale of the assets to the successful bidder free and clear of all liens, claims, and encumbrances will take place, but may not be the end of it all quite yet, as these convoluted processes tend to be more convoluted from time to time. We'll keep you updated. After the break, AirVenture schedule published.
Backcountry flying to us is our playground. For us, it's how we access the things we like to do. It's just our lifestyle. We exclusively use the Hartzell Voyager prop, and it's proved to be just a great combination for what we do. What it's doing, it's helping us all have better performing airplanes. Man, it feels a lot better clearing trees by 50 feet versus 20 feet. I don't ever see myself not flying.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Welcome back. Now let's take a trip around the patch for some shorter stories. AirVenture schedule published. This year's schedule for AirVenture has been unveiled, with every day of the expo filled with a variety of performances, aircraft, and demonstrations unseen anywhere else. AirVenture will enter its 71st year from July 22nd to the 28th at its longtime home at Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. As always, the schedule isn't totally ironclad. Old warbirds and high-strung racers can be finicky little monsters, and it's not all too rare for surprise maintenance to crop up the day before a demo. But for most planning purposes, the schedule is now online. Shelter Aviation and ACE open kids' playground in Lakeland. Shelter Aviation and the Aerospace Center for Excellence have opened the Jerry Holland Destination Aviation Playground, offering a fun, engaging play environment for kids in Lakeland, Florida. The name comes courtesy of Jerry Holland, founder of Shelter Aviation Services. Holland's dedication to the GA industry and business aviation in general was, according to the center, quote, instrumental in the growth of aviation in Florida, end quote. They went on to say that Holland's push to build out an impressive network of hangars throughout the region, supported by a top-flight FBO network, was a, quote, amazing achievement. Louisiana A&G pilots celebrate F-15 flying milestones. Significant flying milestones were recently achieved by 3 F-15 fighter pilots with the 159th Fighter Wing, Louisiana Air National Guard, based at Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base, New Orleans. After flying a routine training mission on May 10th, Colonel David Ripper Anderson, Commander 159th FW, headed the top of the list as he reached 3,000 flight hours in the F-15 Eagle. Anderson is the only current pilot in the 159th to have flown 3,000 hours and one of an elite few in the unit's history. Eve Air Mobility releases additional footage of full-scale prototype. Eve Air Mobility showed off the process of building its first full-size eVTOL prototype. Eve remains in the running in the eVTOL sweepstakes, being far enough along in the design and certification process to put up a good fight against competitors. The video isn't too groundbreaking, simply consisting of sweeping shots of the build process and a short voiceover from Louise Valentini, Chief Technology Officer. Valentini said the firm would be targeting a range of 60 miles to start, since it's a pretty achievable and real-world ready goal to tackle out the gate. Well, that's it for today's trip around the patch. Let's get back to the rest of the news. Risen 916 ISV completes Atlantic crossing, heading for Oshkosh. An amazing flight has just been completed with a unique and highly refined sport aircraft with what appears to have an extremely high degree of efficiency. Risen's Andreas Venturini and Alberto Porto committed themselves to an extraordinary personal and aerodynamic test with the announcement of their challenge flight from Italy to Oshkosh several weeks ago, and we had high hopes for its success, and those hopes have been exceeded. Of the stats we know of thus far, the overwater portion of the trip took some 11 hours, truing out at 165 knots, and burning some 42 gallons for their efforts, leaving them with 8 gallons remaining. The numbers for this aircraft are incredibly impressive, and the 915-powered versions are pushing 200 knots in a big way, but the sleek design offers so little drag that it doesn't take a whole lot of power to demonstrate some extraordinary performance. The airplane is one of the top 5 on Jim Campbell's must-fly list for Oshkosh 2024, and we greatly look forward to flying it. If it flies as well as it looks, this could be a major player in the sport plane industry's future. And after these messages, simulation of emergency on ISS causes alarm.
Well, hello, fellow pilot. I'm John King.
And I'm Martha King.
You know, we've all had our flying lives disrupted lately.
Well, King Schools is here to help you stay up to date with courses that you can access on your desktop, iPad, or iPhone. If you'd like a refresher or just want to expand your aviation horizons, we have a course for you.
So head over to kingschools.com/rusty today for details.
Welcome back. Simulation of emergency on ISS causes alarm. Wednesday at approximately 5:28 Central, audio was heard on the NASA livestream feed from an internal ground-based simulation channel that a crew member on the ISS was enduring symptoms of decompression sickness. The audio was misrouted to the NASA channel instead of its likely intended audience in the Ground Control Center. The ISS feed posted at 6:05 p.m. Central that there was in fact no actual emergency happening on the station. Nonetheless, with millions of people following the channel probably at all times of the day and night, this caused an immediate and immense outpouring of questions, anxiety, and concern that a real emergency was underway. Most readers of PropWash probably understand that crews on board the ISS and ground control crews routinely train, both separately and together, for all possible emergency scenarios, and obviously decompression is a very serious one. Hopefully most of us are also not surprised when foul-ups like this happen. At the same time, it's very understandable and normal if most of us are at least initially very surprised and concerned. Of course, social media made more than a little hay out of it until NASA explained the issue. And that's our show for today. You can catch episodes of Airborne on YouTube, Roku, or Fire TV. Just search for Aero-News or Airborne, and don't forget to follow us on social media. Thanks for watching!